Trust me. The song I should be singing right now is "My eyes have seen, my ears have heard," because I've heard a lot of unfortunately lately, as I've been going to view different houses on behalf of my friends, some of my subscribers that are coming to the city where I am, and also some of my family members that are relocating to the UK. So in order for you not to hear unfortunately, that's why I want to share some of my experience with you, but more of tips on how you can successfully rent an accommodation faster in the UK. Renting an accommodation in UK right now is serious business, and that's because a lot of people are flocked into the UK and more are still coming in, and there are limited houses available, and landlords are also trying their best to make sure that it is the right candidates that is getting the accommodation. And to the landlord, the right candidate is somebody who is actually working, and that's why it's more difficult for a student to get accommodation in the UK compared to someone who is working. The belief is that as a student, you will not be able to work, or you will have limited hours working, or they just have this kind of belief that you might not be able to pay the rent. Although there are other ways that you can go about this, which I'll be mentioning in the video. However, this is one big reason that landlords prefer working class tenants than a student, and that's because if peradventure the tenant is not making payments anymore, the landlord have the right to reach out to your employer to remit your rent into his account. I don't know how they do that, but it's just something that they can do. It's a law that landlord have the right to request for payments to be made into his account. Come to think of it, can the housing crisis be one of the reasons construction workers was added to the study occupation list recently? I did a video on new jobs that were added to the study occupation list, and bricklayers and the likes were part of the jobs that is required in the UK right now. So could it be that more companies are trying to build more houses because of the housing crisis or so? Anyway, that's just a digression. That just crossed my mind. That thought just crossed my mind now, and I was just thinking aloud. Okay, so going back to business. So one thing you need to do is to make sure you get a job. Get a job offer before coming to the UK. So, and this falls on the dependent, because of course a student can't work beyond 20 hours per week, and of course you need a permanent job or a full-time job, or a job that has more hours for you to be able to earn enough to pay your rent, because most landlord requires you to be able to pay 3 times the rent for you to be eligible to rent an accommodation. So I would advise that you start searching for jobs before coming to the UK, and if you are lucky to get a particular job offer, you can use that letter as a reference that you have a job. You are liable to rent an accommodation in the UK. If you have anyone in the city you are relocating into who can help you with house viewing, I would advise that you plead with the person. If you have a friend, a family member, or a distant friend, or anybody that can help you with house viewing, I would advise that the person helps you to view the house, especially if you are coming in as a family, because trust me, viewing houses is not easy. So the reason I say this is because sometimes this houses is not as displayed online, though based on my recent experience, what the houses I've gone to view is just as displayed on the website. However, it might be difficult for you to be able to know the exact size, which is why you might need someone to go there for you, because in terms of the looks, the houses look similar just as it is on the government website, but in terms of space, some of the agents or the landlords, they do their camera in such a way that you will think that the space is bigger than what it is, and so you will not just be deceived and you think you have enough space only for you to come in and so that it's just one slice of room, or what is it that my friend was calling one of the houses that I went to view. So it's very important, and if there's anyone who have had any experience seeing a particular house online, and by the time when you get there it looks totally different from what it seems like on the website, kindly share your experience with us, and okay, we can also take learning from this. But that's the first thing. If you have anyone who can help you to view, please plead with the person to assist you with that. Websites that you can visit to search for houses, you have Zoopla, you have Rightmove, you have Gumtree and the likes. So I'll be visiting some of the websites in the course of this video, but one important thing you need to look out for is the details of the rent. So you need to be sure if they want students. Some of them will say they don't want kids, so that you don't waste time looking through the details of a particular rent or applying for a particular house whereby you're not eligible for. Do you understand? And some things again is so that you can avoid getting a house and it will look like what you ordered for versus what you get, because some of the houses will tell you that it's unfurnished, and unfurnished too is different from unfurnished. Some unfurnished means they don't have the white goods in the property, and some unfurnished means they don't have furnitures in the property. So you need to be guided. Okay, you know what, the best thing is for us to visit the website. Most of the houses that I've gone to view for students, so what the agent or the landlord always asks for is if you're working, as I stated earlier. And if you're not working, then you'll be expected to either have a guarantor or be ready to pay the full length of the rent. And what do I mean by the full length of the rent? This is funny, because if you are paying a rent of £1,000 per month and you want to rent for 6 months or for 12 months, as the case may be, so that means they're expecting you to pay £12,000. And of course, as a student, you know, they have this belief that at the time when you are applying for the admission or you're applying for your visa, you've already stated that you have all the money that will cover for your maintenance. So it's expected that you have the money, and that's why these landlords are all of a sudden bold to now ask for you to pay for the full length of the rental period. And that thing again is in terms of the guarantor. So you need someone, if you are not working, you need someone who is working and who earns salary that is enough to cover up for the requirement for you to be eligible for that rent. So the person will stand in gap for you. And this guarantor also varies. Some guarantor will just be someone who have a good job and a good pay, and some might be a house owner. The other person might be renting and the other person might be a house owner. So sometimes this landlord weigh all these differences, and that is the yards that they use for them to decide on who is most suitable to get the accommodation. So for the option of the guarantor, one reason landlords always need a guarantor is because, of course, they expect that if you don't have a job, how do you intend to pay for the rent? So they expect you to have a guarantor who can be able to stand in gap for you, because as in the UK, a landlord does not have a right to just push you out of the property or to send you packing just because you cannot pay rent. So the thing they do most times is to involve the officials, either to take you to court by giving you something called sections 21, like a letter of eviction or something like that. And when you go to court and the judge hear from the landlord, sometimes it comes in your favor, because the judge might say that, okay, there's nothing you can do about it, especially if you've got kids. And landlords most times don't like going through this, because of course it's a negativity for them, because they are losing some months payments, they are losing their time going to court, and you know, they don't want to go through that stress. And that's why they always ensure that if they're renting out their house to someone, it is somebody who is capable. And please don't, because a landlord cannot send you out of the house, now decide that, okay, if you don't have money, maybe if you want to put your renting on scale of preference, you be like, since the landlord cannot send you out, maybe you want to use the money for something else. Please don't do that. This is because if you decide to do that and you don't pay your rent, in the UK, everything is recorded. So if you have issue with a particular landlord, it will be on your records. So by the time when you want to rent house again from another landlord, it will be shown, because of course they're going to do something called credit check on you when you're renting an accommodation if you have been in the UK for a while. So when they do that run and they check and they see that you've already had issue with a particular landlord, they will see all the details, and of course with that you start having issues with renting another accommodation if by adventure you even win this previous landlord that took you to court in the first place. And that thing again is going to affect your credit score, so you don't want to go through that stress. So if you are looking to rent a property in the UK, this is one of the websites that displays houses for rent, and they offer various services. They offer services to people who want to sell their houses, or you want to buy a house, or you want to rent an apartment, or you want to have an idea of house prices, agent valuation, instant valuation. They offer various services, so you have to make sure that you click on the right icon so that you're getting the right information. So what we are looking at today is houses to rent, right? So we'll click on to rent, and when you click on to rent, it brings up, this pops up, and it's asking you which area you want to search for this property. So provide depending on what you're coming to do in the UK, either you're coming to study or you're coming to work, there's always an address or a location to where you are, whatever you're coming to do. Like for example, if you're coming to school, there's a location for the school, so there's an address, right? And on that address there's a postcode. It's about 6 characters. It has both alphabet and number. That's your postcode. And it has a town, right? So if you are searching for where to rent, you don't want to be too far from where you're searching for houses. Like one of the mistakes people make is they're coming to London to school. London is a big city, right? And when you put in London, you can end up getting an apartment in a place that is like 3 hours away from your school. You don't want to be jumping train and paying more for transportation, right? So you want to be close to your school or your workplace. So you just input the postcode or the particular town where you're coming to. So for example, if you're coming to London and you're coming to Wood Green, you put Wood Green here, or Wood Green is actually ends like it's in the northern part of London, so you can put in something. If you just look at the address, you'll be able to have an idea of the postcode. You understand? So you just input the postcode here, and same goes to if you're coming to work in the UK. And depending on the number of people that will occupy the apartment, you put the number of bedroom, and you put the maximum price. Now when you're putting price, please don't put price based on where you are coming from. Put prices based on the average income you'll be earning in in the UK. You understand? So that you don't put a ridiculous price that will just be giving you houses that you don't want. So this is another website you want to visit if you are looking to rent an apartment in the UK, and this website is Rightmove. I would add the link in the description box below so that you can be able to look through this website at your own time. So this website also offers different services. They do rent, they do selling, they do house price, find an agent, commercial, inspire, overseas, and all that. But what we're looking at is to rent a property. So under rent a property, they have property to rent, they have student property to rent, and they have where I can live. So property to rent is general. So once you click on property to rent, it's just like the website I just displayed. You enter all the information necessary and to give you all the properties that is available. And most times properties that is on this website is also on the on Zoopla as well, but sometimes too you have more properties on this website and more properties on Zoopla, so it's really good for you to look through the two. However, if you are a student and you're just looking to rent an apartment, if you don't have dependents, this is the link you want to click on. So under this link, one, the location is already close to the school, or most of the houses is always close to different schools in the particular city. So okay, let's just look at and then so that I can explain. So let me use Manchester for example. So so okay, so this is one. So for example, this is a 1-bedroom apartment and the amount is 1,200. Most times these bedrooms are always furnished. This apartment is always furnished for students. And this is another one. Again, the location is M1. So if you're coming to BP Manchester, this is a particular apartment you want to rent. It's a 1-bedroom apartment, as you can see. So it's not for family. So this one also is a 2-bedroom apartment. This one is for family and is always furnished. Most cases it is furnished, but the problem with these properties is that it is mainly for students. So you can see this one say for group of 2 for the next academic year. So this one now, that means it's a property that will be shared. It's a 2-bedroom flat, but it is for 2 students. Only 2 students can live there. So it's not a family apartment. You understand? So if you're a student and you're looking to rent an apartment for short term, look at this one. The 2022 to 2023 short term let available. So this one is short term. So that means once you're done with your school or your study, or for the section for your schooling, you have to evacuate this property. This is another 4-bedroom apartment. So each student will have different room and you share the living room or whatever the situation may be. This one is in Salford, so a studio flat in Salford. So this is basically student friendly. So if you are someone who have a family, I wouldn't advise you look at renting an apartment here, but I would advise you go to this particular place for property to rent. So say Manchester for example, and then you start search. Okay, so you have to input all the information here, right? So any property, just find properties. So now you see this property you have 1,900 plus property. So this is a 2-bedroom apartment. So this one is like a family apartment. So you start looking through the details. So it's not about you being a student, but you also have to go through the referencing and all the other details that I stated in my last video. So another website I want to show you again is Gumtree. So this particular website, this is my own opinion though, I don't totally trust this website about the services of houses posted there, and this is because on this website, even there are people that do private posting. So what do I mean by that? Like, for example, if I have a property in the UK and I also want to rent it out, I can post my property on this website, and I might not be a verified agent, you understand, so you might be having issues with those kind of landlords or those kind of agents because they are not really guided by the agent law or something. I mean, it's my own opinion though, but if you are someone who is looking out for shared apartment, this is a good website to look out for, because this is a website where you can be able to see various shared apartment. Because I, for one, also I can decide that, okay, even though I'm living in a 3-bedroom apartment, I want to give up one of the rooms for rent, so I can post it here, and anybody who is interested can come and view the room I want to rent out in my own 3-bedroom apartment. I think that explains it very well. So, and if you look at this one now, it says room to rent, and it is 130 per week. The date it will be available is 22nd of April. So once you just read through, if you see anyone that appeals to you, you just click on it and then you read through. Please make sure what you are looking at is bedroom to rent, not property, because some properties is actually an office space. So make sure you are reading the details very well before you click on it, and I assure you that in no time you get a property in the UK. Now, even though you have a job or you have a guarantor or you're a student, you're ready to pay and all that, after viewing the property and you're interested in property, so they put together all candidates information and they start filtering. So, and one of the things they check is people that have kids. So most times, most landlords don't want kids. So if you have kids, they will check the age of your kids. Like, you know, that's for some landlords that don't like kids anyway. Then also in terms of guarantor, you know, guarantor is different from guarantor. Some guarantor are living in a rented apartment, while some are house owners, you understand. So of course they will want to take a house owner compared to someone who lives in the rent. So somebody, if you can get a guarantor that is a house owner, that someone who is already having a mortgage, it's a good one for you. That someone on a mortgage that has a good job.